Hi, this is Kim Sutton from Creative Mathematics here in Arcata, California. This week's book, Double the Ducks by my friend Stuart Murphy, is the book I read yesterday and posted on my YouTube channel, Creative Mathematics. It is one of many books that Stuart Murphy has written, and I plan on reading quite a few of his. This is a basic primary level book. I always put up lessons on Tuesday that go with the concepts in our literature book. So the first week I read Even Steven and Odd Todd, and then I went through a series of activities, level 1, level 2, level 3, that you could do with the concepts of evens and odds. Last week I read the book Equal Schmeequal, and I posted level 1, level 2, level 3, games that went with the idea of that equal sign. This week, we're going to talk about doubling numbers. And if you've watched level 1 and level 2, you can tell we're ready to look at level 3 activities. I'm going to be honest with you. I probably would not use this book with 4th and 5th graders because it's way too primary. But the concept of doubling is a hugely important concept. And it's really something that will help you with mental math, and it will help you with long division and more complex multiplication. So we're ready to look at some simple things that we can do with doubling. If you go to my website, in the free section, you will see a master for my pattern sticks. If you have been at a workshop with me, you know that these are non-negotiable tools that I do all of my fact fluency with. One of the things that's most powerful about these pattern sticks is they are the same colors as the dots on my number line. So all the multiples of 2 or numbers that have 2 as a factor would have a red dot above them. So the pattern stick is the length of the facts up to 12 times 2. I'm going to talk about some simple things that you can do that build on concepts that start with doubles. So for a primary child in 1st and 2nd grade, the 2 stick becomes a skip counting by multiples of 2 tool. It also becomes the tool to practice addition doubles. So in my previous level 1 and level 2 videos, you will see practice on doubling. By the time they get to 3rd grade, this stick that they were practicing doubles with is the same pattern of numbers that you would practice all of your times 2 facts. And I want students to make the connection that multiplying a number by 2 is saying 2 groups of that number. In other words, you're doubling a number. So what was familiar to you as a double pattern in 1st and 2nd grade can be really reassuring that that's all of your times 2 facts. So I'm going to use my 2 stick, and I'm going to teach you the classic game called the pattern stick game. In this game, you need some chips, or if you don't have chips, you can use goldfish crackers, you can use paper clips, you can use pennies. But the object of the game is to be the first one to completely cover your 2 stick. So playing this game, you need 2 dice. If you don't have dice, I put up some ideas for quick ways you can substitute in for the dice if you don't have them. At my workshops, I typically play with the double dice, but again, you might not have those at home. So let's learn the pattern stick game. Also, if you're thinking to yourself, I don't have the pattern sticks at home, remember, all you need are multiples of 2 up to 12 groups of 2. So I can write them down on a piece of paper. This is exactly the same pattern, or I can write them on my response board. So you don't need the fancy stick, but that's an option for you. Also, this game can be played on any one of the sticks. So when I'm practicing my multiplying by 3 or my multiplying by 4, the same game can be played on any stick. So let's learn the pattern stick game. So I'm going to look for someone I can play the game with, and it might be whoever's in your house. If you cannot find someone to play the game with, invite your dog to watch you play. You can play by yourself. I think some of the best times I've had is when I was hiding in my bedroom when I was a kid, trying to avoid all my brothers and sisters, and I'd make up games and play them all by myself. So let's learn the pattern stick game. To play this game, you're going to roll your 2 dice. So once you have rolled, you have the option of either adding the 2 numbers together or doing the difference between. So children most likely are going to want to add at the beginning. So I would say 4 plus 4. I like games that have 2 operations in them, and this one has a 2-operation game. 4 plus 4 is 8. If I'm playing with someone, they have to agree that I gave the correct equation. That's a thumbs up. This means I'm not sure, and this means I disagree. So I say 4 plus 4 is 8, and then I say 8 times 2 is 16. I cover up my 16. My opponent doesn't cover up 16 because that's not what they rolled. So they roll, they get whatever. Now it's my second roll. I rolled a 2 and a 1. I could say 3 times 2, or I could do the difference between 2 and 1, which is 1. And I think I'll do that this time. 1 times 2 is 2. So I cover up the 2. Now, if you have a child, or if you're that child who isn't sure of their 2 facts, I'm going to show you how to get a little assist on this. You would pull off your 1 stick. Your 1 stick becomes a tracking tool. So let's say on my next roll, perfect example, I roll a 6 and a 6. I say 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 times 2. Now I could stop and think, or I could use my assist here. 12 times 2 is 24. So the 1 stick can be very, very helpful. Now remember, if you don't have dice, doesn't mean you can't play this game. You could play the game if you had some dominoes. You could draw out a domino. I drew out 6 and 6. I could say that's 12. Now, if I didn't have that covered up, I'd cover that up. The difference between 6 and 6 is 0. The problem is 0 times 2 is 0. I could cover up my little hole on the stick to count for the 0. But this is a game that you can play with dice. You can play with dominoes. You can even play with a deck of playing cards. So if I turn over the ace stands for first letter of the alphabet, 1. So 1 times 2 is 2. So I can use any vehicle to generate the numbers that I need for the game. Really simple game, really powerful strategy. Now, I will take 1 week and we will talk about fractions because I'm going to read a book called Holy Cow. If you look at these pattern sticks as more than just tools for basic facts, do I see the fraction 1/2, 2/4, 3/6? So later on, these sticks are going to be used for fractions. That's a really simple game. But remember, same game could be played on your 3 stick. It could be played on your 4 stick. It could be played on your 6 stick. It's a really simple game that is connected to what you learned when you were in first and second grade, which would be your addition doubles. The second little game I want to teach you is not such a little game. It is a lot more complex. If you've been at workshops with me before, you know that I always use my place value dice, because when you roll your place value dice, you are rolling a number in expanded form. When a child uses that number, they would have to standardize that number. These are great dice, but let's say you don't have these at home. On my website, in the free section, you can download some place value spinners that will simulate rolling my place value dice. Now, again, if you watch my YouTube video on using spinners, I will also show you how to draw a quick circle and divide that circle any way you need to. This is a one spinner, so it would roll or spin. In the case of using the spinner, it would spin the digits that are possible in the ones place, which would be 0 through 9. A paper clip used in the center of a spinner makes what I call a fast spinner. So the child would just spin using their pen or pencil. You don't have to bend the paper clip. It makes a perfect little spinner. So if you are using these, this is a game where you're going to be recording the numbers that you spin, and I like them to make 5 two-digit numbers for this game. So I spun a 30, and on this spinner, it's more on the 4s, so 30 plus 4 makes 34. So on my response board, I would write the number 34. Now I'm going to double it. 34, I could write plus 34, but maybe I don't feel like writing that much. So sometimes what I have my students do is they do a big D next to that number. That means 34 doubled is 68. Now, I'm going to spin again. $57 doubled. Ooh, that's a harder one. Now I have to think. 50 doubled would be 100. 7 doubled would be 14. So my double is 114. So I'm going to repeat this until I have 5 numbers. So 48 doubled, ooh, 80 plus 16 would be 96. Then I landed on 17 doubled, it's 34. And then I landed on 61 doubled. Ooh, I like these bigger numbers. Because in this game, what you're going to do once you have 5 numbers is you're going to add the 5 numbers together. That sum will be your score for the round, and you're trying to be the one with the greatest sum. So I see 10 plus 6 more, 16, plus 8 more, 16 and 8 is 24. Carry my 2 10s. 8, 9, 18, 18 and 5 is 23. Carry my 200s. My score for that round was 334. Now, I'm trying to always have the greatest number. That's a simple way to practice doubling big numbers. Here's the nice thing about this. This is meant to practice so that this becomes a mental process. The reason it's such an important game, whether you have the place value dice or you're doing two spinners, if you have a number like 95 to double, that could be overwhelming and makes you feel like you need to do paper and pencil, but let's deal with our 10s and then let's deal with our 1s, doubling each of those and then bring them together. And pretty soon, the more we practice this, the more we're able to double bigger and bigger numbers. Those are some simple ideas to practice the spin-off of doubling. I hope you got some use out of this activity. Remember to go to my YouTube channel, which is Creative Mathematics. Go to my website, which is creativemathematics.com. Look for the freebies section. You'll find lots of things to practice. Thanks for listening today. Remember, we have a Zoom session on Wednesday for grades 2 and 3. And I'll look forward to hearing from you. Anything you need, let me know. Thanks. Goodbye.